Unjustified and unreasonable. Two words India has used in response to being targeted for doing business with Russia. On Monday, the US president once again went on a tirade against India, claiming that India didn't care how many people were being killed by Russia and Ukraine, only for the sake of profits. He threatened to increase the tariffs as a result. India has forcefully rejected criticism from the US and the European Union over its continued import of Russian oil, putting forth facts that the West seems to have conveniently forgotten in their attempts at trying to look like the good guys. Watch this video and tell us who really has the double standards here. India began importing from Russia because traditional supplies were diverted to Europe after the outbreak of the conflict in Ukraine. The United States at that time actively encouraged such imports by India for strengthening global energy market stability. Experts say Trump's huffing and puffing over India's Russian energy imports not only ignores market realities, it misrepresents trade data and risks a key strategic partnership in the Indo-Pacific. The same countries trying to sit on their moral high horses are themselves doing business with Russia, while trying to play global school monitor to paint India as the one profiting of Russia's war with Ukraine. These same nations continue to do substantial trade in energy and goods with Russia, which, if things were indeed fair, would be the ultimate test of double standards. The MEA issued rebuttal emphasized India's energy decisions are guided by economic realities, not political alignment, and criticized the West for continuing to trade in Russian energy, fertilizers, chemicals, and rare minerals like uranium and palladium. India maintains that unlike its own imports, Western trade is not a national necessity. So the US has no problems importing uranium hexafluoride for its nuclear industry. It has no complaints that it is bringing in palladium needed for its EVs, and chemicals and fertilizers too for its vast agricultural economy, all from Russia. In 2024, the European Union had a bilateral trade of 67.5 billion euros in goods with, guess who? Russia. If you talk of trade and services, that was estimated at 17.2 billion euros in 2023. This is significantly more than India's total trade with Russia that year or after. But how come we don't hear Europeans or Americans being blamed for the lives lost in Ukraine or for financing Russia's war against Ukraine? New Delhi clarified that it began importing from Russia when traditional oil suppliers redirected supplies to Europe following the Ukraine conflict, making Russian crude a necessity to stabilize domestic energy supply and keep consumer costs in check. While state-owned refineries have recently paused purchases due to reduced Russian price discounts, private firms have continued to import large volumes under long-term contracts, making India the largest buyer of seaborne Russian crude in 2024. According to a recent report by Global Trade Research Initiative, while Trump is trying to pin India for Russian oil imports, he is silent on China, which actually imported even more oil from Russia than India did. According to the GTRI report, Trump appears unwilling to criticize China, perhaps because of geopolitical calculations, and instead targets India unfairly. The GTRI report also claimed that Trump's recent claim regarding India is both false and misleading. Trump's claim on making big profits by selling Russian oil in open markets is simply not true, since India does not export crude oil from Russia or anywhere else. India is a net importer of crude. India exports refined petroleum products. The question to ask then is, why is India being unfairly singled out while the US stays mum on China? And if doing business with nations that don't align with American foreign policy was such a top priority, why is the US stark blind when it comes to Pakistan's latest hot take on Iran? Pakistan is currently hosting Iran's president on its soil, and Pakistan has promised to deepen its ties with Iran, condemned Israeli strikes, and also supported Iran's nuclear program, the same one that almost sent the US to war in the Middle East. And despite geopolitical pressure, Indian officials say there are no immediate changes in its policy stance. In response to Trump's latest threat, India has said it would safeguard its national and economic interests. Make no mistake, If Trump carries out his 25% tariff on Indian products and marks it up with some outrageous penalty for doing business with Russia, it is going to hit India and its economy. But at least let's get the facts right and call out the US and European nations for what they're actually doing. Playing the bully with some, playing coy with others, and papering over facts that are inconvenient to them. For more such stories, subscribe to SNG News, hit the like button and follow for more news updates.